One of my most popular videos on YouTube is the comparison between the Leica Q3 and the Leica Q3 43. But why is it that I'm keeping both of these cameras and that I'm still keeping the Sony a7R5 as my workhorse? This is 6 months with the Leica Q3 and the Leica Q3 43. We're gonna talk about the pros and the cons of these cameras, should it be your main kit or not? And we'll obviously take a look at some of the photos I've taken with these cameras since I started. Oh, and we're also gonna talk about whether the cameras are good for video or not. If you want a more technical video, I suggest that you go back to the other video that I made. This is more kind of why I'm keeping both and what you should keep in mind kind of video. My name is Christian Warwick. I'm a full-time filmmaker and photographer based in Oslo, Norway. I work with brands like Oakley, Red Bull, Audi, BMW, and I have this filmmaking and photography as my full-time living. First of all, I would say these cameras are not for event photography. If you're an event photographer, I would suggest that you go with something like a stronger workhorse, like the Sony a7R5 or any other camera that you can really rely on. Something that is really fast and quick on the shutter, that doesn't freeze. I know that I've been saying that these cameras are freezing on me. I've heard other people saying that it doesn't freeze on them. So it could be that I'm just unlucky, but at least my experience is that I can't rely as much on them. It's important to emphasize that this is not what the cameras are made for. These cameras are not made for event photography, sport photography. We're gonna get into that more later. They're more made for the artistic kind of photographer when you want it to be just really stylish, really cool. It's a different kind of camera. Anyways, my experience using these for event photography, photos are great, client is super happy, but it's a bit more stressful, as I don't know if I'm gonna get the shot or not. But dude, if you have time to line up people, plan your shoot, these cameras are a no-brainer. Definitely go for these cameras. I would choose these cameras over the Sony 10 out of 10 times if I had a shoot where I am in control of everything. That's why I loved using these two for a wedding that I shot in New York City. My fiance's sister got married in December, brought these two cameras as the only cameras that I brought for that wedding, and I loved shooting with them. These photos are some of my favorite shots that I've ever taken, some of the best photos in my portfolio in my opinion. Not because they're perfect in any way, it's just that these cameras are bringing so much life into those shots. I love how I can use a slow shutter and get really nice shots. We're gonna talk more about slow shutter because that is something that I've come to love. Anyways, I used the 43 for the most of the wedding shoot, and then I used the 28 for the things that I felt like this was too close or too narrow on. So having that freedom to use both of them really made a huge difference for me in that case. There are two things that I love doing in life, and that is running and making content. And for my content to be better, I need to write music. I partnered up with Musicbed, and because of that, you can get a free trial of Musicbed by hitting the link down below or in the show notes. Get Musicbed today and make better videos. Back to the show. After that wedding is when I realized that I'm gonna keep both of these cameras. I definitely thought that this would be the camera that I kept, but after that and after realizing that these cameras are great for just about everything and having both of them kind of ends up being a great kit, I decided that I'm not gonna sell any of them, I'm gonna keep them, and I'm gonna use them for the things that they're made for. Which I guess in a way leads me to why I actually bought this in the first place. I was missing a camera that I could use for more of portrait photography. And how does this actually work with portraits? Because now after a few months, I've been using this for just about everything. I've been using it for corporate portraits. I've been using it for street photography of people. Just about all the scenarios where you take photos of people. I do like taking photos of portraits with this 43 lens, but I do see that sometimes it's not enough and I end up using my Sony with an 85mm. That has nothing to do with the quality, it's just that some people seem to look a bit obviously different with the 43. Maybe it's not tight enough, narrow enough for it to be a great photo in terms of the shape of the face. So I love taking portraits with this one, but it's not the one camera that I would choose if I was doing only portraits. Really depends on what kind of portraits you're taking. If I was to do street photography and portraits, this would be my go-to. Just because more things are happening in those kind of photos. Speaking of street photography, these cameras are definitely king when it comes to street photography. When I'm traveling, when I'm in a city, when I'm just bringing one camera with me, I will bring one of these. Most of the time I will bring the Q3 28 with me, but if I know that I'm taking more photos of people, I will bring the 43. If there are more people in the photo, then I will usually go with the 28. But if it's just me and my fiance, I will most likely just bring the 43 because it does everything for me in that regards. And speaking of traveling with the Leica, there are a couple of things that I love about traveling with my Leica cameras. One of them being that it's so small, it can fit in my pocket. Which means that if I'm on a subway in New York, I can hide it in my pockets and it doesn't even look like I have a big, or obviously it's not a big, that I have a proper camera with me. So that is a good thing. The size, easy to travel with, light, just perfect. The other thing that I love about it is that it doesn't look like a super expensive camera to your average Joe. So like, people who don't know what kind of camera this is will never guess that it's that expensive or that it's such a high-end camera. That also makes it less of a object or thing for people to try to steal. I'm not saying that people won't try to steal it, but it's just, I like that it's a very subtle camera, a subtle brag really, especially if you're in an environment with photographer. Because if you're a photographer, you will recognize the red dot, right? And now it's time to talk about the flash and the Q3 and the Q3 43. My god, have I loved using a flash with these cameras. It's kind of changed the game of flash photography for me, especially with a slow shutter. I feel like with a flash and a slow shutter on these cameras, I'm guaranteed a good photo. Look at these ones that I took for Red Bull. I just really appreciate that I'm able to take these photos and at the slow shutter of say 15. With the Sony, I don't feel like I'm guaranteed a good photo. Could be that I haven't learned to use the Sony in that way, but I've been using the Sony for years, so I don't really understand why that would be. But with the Leica Q3 and Q3 43 and the flash, it's just become a different vibe, different style. It's so crispy, so nice. The quality is just something else. This is why I love these cameras so much. And then let's talk sports photography. I know that these cameras are not at all made for sports photography, and don't worry, I'm not gonna say they are, but obviously I've been having a lot of fun taking photos with these cameras at sport events. A couple of weeks ago, I did the World Championship speed skating again, and I was working for one of the teams. In a situation like that where I know that I need to get photos of the skaters, I will definitely use my Sony, because that is more of the standard sports photography style, and also because I know that it's less of a chance of me getting a great photo with the Leicas. But when it comes to like playing around and having fun with sports photography with these, I feel like you can get such artistic shots and have so much fun with it, and it's gonna be very different, and I really love that style. And so for me, using it for sports photography, it's great. But definitely not the one camera you should get. So if you are someone who's just getting into photography, you have the money to get one of these and you're like, oh, I want that as my main camera, and you're doing sports photography, no, don't get this one. Get something else. Preferably something like the Sony. You don't have to get the Sony a7R5, but get something like that and the 70-200mm. In the intro, I mentioned video and these two cameras. I love the vibe that I'm getting from this in terms of still photography, and honestly the vibe and the look you're getting out of this when you're shooting video is also great. I mean, this is not a camera that I would go to for my video work, but I did make this with that, and I think it looked pretty cool. The colors are nice and it's just crispy, and I love the look that I'm getting. That does not mean that I feel like it's handy, like it's definitely not something that I would pick over, say, the FX6 or the FX3, but it's nice to know that I'm able to. It works, it creates a good vibe, but it's not my go-to. So Yes, it has 8K. It is a great camera. They're advertising it with the 8K video, but definitely not a camera I would get if I was just shooting videos. So why am I keeping both of these cameras? Honestly, it's because I can. And I'm not saying this to brag or saying that I have a lot of money, because I don't. It's not about that. I got a lot of comments on the last video saying that you got too much money when you can buy these two cameras. The reason I have them is that I have an LLC, business is fairly good, and I can expense them, I can buy them, I'm not paying VAT on them, and it's an investment into my own business. But I also did fall hard for these cameras. It was really hard to let one go, and I just couldn't. It does give me an all-round setup that I can bring with me without having a lot of gear. And again, it works in a lot of situations. Maybe not every situation you can think of, but for a lot of things, I can use those two cameras, and that's enough for a kit. And in situations where I can't use these two and I don't feel like they're reliable enough, I'll just go with the Sony. So in terms of a workhorse, the Sony is my workhorse. That's the one that I go to. Like the other day when I did an event, I will bring the Sony a7R5 with a 24-70 and a flash with me, and that's all I needed for the whole night. I did bring a 20mm, but I didn't even use it. And the photos came out great. It's more than good enough for an event like that, and I don't really have to invest more into a camera kit than what I have. I feel like having the Sony and these two Leicas, that is a perfect kit for me as a professional photographer. But yeah, there's definitely no question or doubt about the quality of these two cameras. This camera will give you, at least in my opinion, better photos than most cameras out there. I love this, I love the vibe, and it definitely is more of a more artistic kind of camera. Both this and the Q3, they're for the ones that want to do more. And I do want to do more. I want to be more creative. I want to just play around with the creative field. And so these cameras are definitely doing that for me. Like I mentioned in the previous video, these cameras have made me a better photographer, but also a better filmmaker, because I see more opportunities, more possibilities, just because these are fixed lenses and I have to work more to get the shot that I want. I can't just zoom in with a zoom lens. I need to work and I need to move. So I love them, I recommend them, and I'm keeping them, but they're not for every situation. So if you're getting one of these or considering it, just think it through. What are you going to use them for? And hopefully this video kind of answered that question for you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.